Holy crap balls, I am so excited to talk to you guys about the new update for the GT1000. Version 4 is here. Let's do it. Hey, hope you're all doing well. Boss have finally done it. They've updated the GT1000, keeping people like me, the high gain crazies, in mind. If you clicked on this video, you would have seen the little paid promotion thing just here. Now that is because I have been fortunate enough to trial this firmware for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Thank you to Steve, you bloody ripper. But I'm not getting paid, I just genuinely love the GT1000 and all Boss products. If you're new here, I've got a whole playlist of videos on the GT1000 and the GT1000 Core. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Alright, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Let's talk about the new features. We have 3 brand new high gain guitar amps. The X Ultra, the X Optima, and the X Titan. There are 6 bass amps that have been ported across from the ME90B. They are the Silver Tube, Fat Tube, Classic Blue, Dark DRV, Studio Bass, and Solid Stack. And we have 2 new drives in the drive block, which I'm actually surprised they weren't there before. We have the SD1 and the DS1. Now, I'm mostly excited about the SD1. It's my favorite overdrive. I have the original one here on my pedal board, and in any modeling situation, I always reach for any version of an SD1. DS1, I can take it or leave it, but it's in there now, and that's awesome. Just for the record too, this update is of course for the GT1000 and the GT1000 Core, as they are pretty much the same. There is an update for the Tone Studio as well. Now, it didn't look any different, it just incorporates all of the new features. I'm not going to show you how to update, I've got plenty of videos on how to do that. Essentially, go to Boss Info Global, or there's a link in the description for you. So the new high gain amps, the X Ultra is more or less like a hot-rodded Marshall. I like Marshalls, I like the X Ultra. It is actually really sick. It's got a good push in the mid-range and straight up sounds like a Marshall. The X Optima is, at its core, a mixed and mastered tone. So essentially you can just plug in and play and you don't have to tweak too much. I mean, a little bit of flavor here and there to taste, but essentially the idea is it's just gonna sit straight into a mix, or it's gonna sit straight into a live situation and sound good every time. And it kind of does. So when I get to that example, I've not done any post-processing on that amp. Now, whilst it is designed to sit in a mix, it is still thick and chunky and sounds fantastic. And then there's my favorite, the X Titan. Now, it's designed for big chunky riffs, low tune guitars, djenty, heavy metal. However, it does still shred. It's amazing. I like this one. I can't fault it. I like it low tuned. I like it standard tuning. It's just a good sounding metal amp. It's low and thuddy, but still tight. Alright, let's get into the demos. I've written 3 short pieces of music, 1 for each amp, and we're going to hear them in the mix. At the end of the video, I'll show you the individual tracks so you can hear what they sound like on their own. First up is the X Optima. As I said, that was 100% just the GT1000. There is no post-processing on those guitars because this amp is supposed to just sit in a mix. It's supposed to sit in a live situation really well without all of that extra tweaking. So that one's designed to cut through the mix, still be thick and chunky, but also whilst avoiding the bass frequencies, which kind of sounds counterintuitive, but it just works. They've done it. It sounds awesome. The newly designed gain algorithm provides rich sound in addition to the distinct separation characteristics within each frequency. It has great balance, it's expressive, and it's dynamic. You can chug, you can shred, but you can still be expressive with your playing. It's a sick amp. All right, metalheads, my favorite. Let's check out the X Titan. Do you like my riffs? I'm thinking I'm going to turn that into a song. If you like good music, check out my band ORION'S. As we know, metal's getting lower, there's more strings on guitars, things are getting a bit insane. So what did Boss do? They accommodate these things. As the notes get lower, they get flubby and they can get muddy and messy. So this amp is designed to make sure that you still retain that clarity of those low notes when you pick. Now, I'm only tuned down to B flat standard here, which is not really that low in comparison to some bands. However, all of those chugs and all of those low things, you can still hear them and they sound awesome. Probably because I played it really well. But actually, that's because the amp is just amazing. The thing I was most impressed by with this amp is that I didn't have to pump the gain too high to get a good sound, and it still sounded heavy. There was a lot of gain on there. I could do all the things that I wanted to do. Pinch squeals, shred stuff, and it sounds sick. And also, at the same time, it wasn't noisy. It's controlled, there's none of that unwanted feedback. It was really easy to get in and dial in a tone really quickly. I did use the SD1 in front of the amp because I like the SD1, but again, the gain was down and the level was probably halfway. So yeah, the MDP technology achieves thick distortion and great separation. Awesome amp. And finally, the ultimate modern stack, the X Ultra. Let's check this one out. Now, I'm a big fan of the X Crunch, the X High Gain, and the X Modded amps in the GT1000. And this X Ultra, it's kind of like it's super close relative. I think all the things that I like about those amps is what I like about this amp. It's dynamic, it's expressive, it's got a good mid-focused push. Now, whilst it is very Marshall-esque in character with that mid-focused push, it still achieves high gain character. You could use this in any genre and be absolutely satisfied. Now, the bass amps, I'm not going to dive into those. However, I did use the bass amps on all of those demos. Now, I'm not a bass player, which is why the bass sucked. But from playing through them, I was genuinely impressed by these bass amps. I've got plugins that I use all the time that I kind of never really get a good tone from. However, on this, straight up, any one of those amps, I was getting a good tone. So, good job. And again, SD1, Can't go past it. SD1 is the absolute bomb of overdrives. The DS1 is and shall forever remain an enigma. I do have a video showing how you can use the DS1 as a boost instead of an overdrive, which you can check out here. But at the end of the day, the DS1 and the SD1 are finally in the GT1000. Yes. So final thoughts and a couple of little personal notes on the update. The amps themselves are fantastic. I did find that not every cab always worked. I still had to play with the cabs and play with the microphones and play with the positions of the microphones in there to make the sound more to my flavor. But that goes for any amp. I don't think any cab is going to match every amp all of the time. You're still going to have to get in there and tweak and get the sound that you're looking for. So when you're trying these amps out, if you do find that it's not quite sitting where you like it, play with the cabinets, play with the microphones. You might get in there and stumble across some genius. In regards to the drives, now this goes for every modeler. I find that overdrives and distortions don't respond the same as they do in the real world, as in like real pedals, real amps. In the digital situation, say on your normal pedal you've got a setting of 7, I find the setting's going to be very different. Essentially, I think if you're going to be looking for an overdrive, reach for the flavor and the tonalities that you like, and then adjust it to a point based on what you're hearing and what you're feeling. So don't go in thinking that it's going to be exactly the same as your normal stomp box. So that's it. That's the update. We've got 3 awesome high gain amps, 2 classic stomp boxes, and 6 bass amps, because we need bass, just like in Justice for All. I'm going to dive deeper into these amps in other videos. If you want to hear these tones on their own, stick around. And if you would like to get these presets, there's a link in the description. Thank you again to Roland Australia for letting me try out this firmware update before it was released. You guys rock. And for all of you guys playing at home, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. I'll see you next time.